And the accounting business package. Talking about that right now. Now, the talk about a service that every single person needs. I mean, whether you're a business owner or not, business owners especially need this service. So I think this is a huge. If you're an accountant and you're looking to start or grow your own practice, and you're looking at this accounting business package, not only will the startup series and all the stuff that we bring in is features and benefits in the description area here on the website. Not only will all these features help you get this going right from the beginning, but I mean, this is a service that literally everybody needs. Every single person needs an accountant.
Absolutely. And, one thing I like right from the get go in this package is that it creates stability on both ends
Yeah.
as far as the person, consuming the service, needing the accounting service performed, as well as the accountant. Because as in a subscription model, you're flattening out the costs on the
Yes.
consumer side, which is great
It's
because,
huge for me.
everybody hates volatile expenses.
Yep.
But on the other end of the spectrum, you have consistent income on the accounting, on the accountant side,
Right.
which is something I know that a lot of private services have trouble achieving. So it's
Yeah.
definite win-win.
Well, and I think especially smaller accounts. It's one thing for these big, huge, which I think actually a smaller accountant service would have an advantage over, at least as far as I'm concerned, they would, as far as, over these big, huge corporate conglomerate accounting services, because we've used both. And the one thing that I appreciated that I don't have currently with my current accountants, we've got several corporations that we file taxes on. So, once a year, I have this huge inflated bill from the accountants. And if they would spread that out for me, not only, like you said, would it provide more stable income for them, but it would make it easier on me, because once a year I've got like thousands and thousands of dollars in tax returns to pay for them preparing them for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just, financial forecasting is critical to a successful business. And I mean, the accountant, ironically, could help you forecast while also making your forecasts more predictable. So it's, yeah,
Absolutely.
definite huge advantage. And I think the other thing that it does is it creates, again, a relationship between,
Yeah.
the business and the consumer. Because, when you're paying for one-off services or just pure contract rendered services, I think there's a level of detachment in that relationship and a greater likelihood of
Absolutely.
consumers migrating away. So I think this not only provides consistency, stability, and all the other advantages we talked about, but it also, I think, reinforces the value of that relationship and ultimately probably leads to longer term client relationships.
Yeah. Well, and when you have that, because I mean, you're looking at at least $1,000, for a corporate tax return. $1,000 for a corporate tax return is pretty cheap. So when you can, I mean, it's probably more, like $1,500 that the average corporate tax return is, and that's without a whole bunch of itemizations or deductions or things like that. So when you can say, for $200 a month rather than you having to pay $1,500 once a year, not only will I do your taxes, but I'll also come in and I'll check on your books quarterly, and I'll make a list of things that you can pay me to do or you can do yourself. And that will keep us in line and make filing your taxes at the end of the year easier on everybody. So you've created an environment where, like you said, you've got a relationship going on with your customer. You're regularly checking in with them. You're providing them a service that your competitors aren't providing them with for, cash flow wise, maybe in their minds cheaper, but it's more of a stable expense for them and their company for sure. And they're getting more out of it. And so you're getting more stable, you're getting more income. Number one, you've gone from $1,500 a year to $2,400 a year. And you've made it to where you're making your job come tax time as an accountant easier.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and with these subscription models, that opportunity to re-engage with your customer always creates opportunity for additional services. So, I think it creates stability. It levels out expenses. It reduces, I'm sure, customer attrition, and then it ultimately, I think, creates a sort of a foundation for any, additional accounting services that maybe they would self-perform to, be awarded
Right.
to the company that's already providing the great service.
Now, you've worked under our business methodology. Tell me how our way of doing things has impacted your life.
Well, it's improved my life in many different ways. I've learned to, operate in business more efficiently, more strategically, with a greater focus on win-win outcomes, where the business is profiting, but the, clients and customers are happy. So it's been a very enriching process, and I've learned a lot from you guys. You guys have that entrepreneurial spirit that just makes for good business, and so it's been just an absolute pleasure working with you guys.
And now, what about financially? How would you say your situation is different?
Well, it's been enormously personally rewarding, financially rewarding. We've been able to do things we never imagined being able to do just a few years before. Your unique approach to business has enabled us to, be more profitable than our competitors. We've had a better work-life balance, I think, than most people who, even get close to approaching our income threshold. So I think really, as rewarding as something could be, it has been for us.
Now, do you feel like our way of doing things has profitability advantages over traditional ways of doing business?
Oh, most certainly. Yeah. I think you can, tell just by our history of growth. I think are willing to adapt our business strategies, fill any niche role that's out there, and just, capitalize on things that other businesses aren't even aware of. So, yeah, I think we, have had a much greater level of success than our competitors with more profitability and oftentimes less busy work.
Yeah, certainly. And I think too, with the startup series goes over all sorts of that kind of stuff. And just the ways that we've been luckily forced to adapt and learn how to do things with less staff and, more technology based or more efficiency based, just really picking things apart down to the typing of emails or not. Stuff like that makes a huge difference, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Breaking things down to their kind of constituent components, seeing what you absolutely have to have, what's not necessary, and then putting your energy behind what drives, maximum productivity and profitability. And I think that's where we've had a lot of our success.
Now, Justin, what would you say to someone who is thinking about buying one of these business packages, but is maybe nervous about starting a business from scratch instead of going with a more expensive traditional franchise, or maybe nervous about something else with starting a business?
Well, I would say that, now is a very good time, I think, for someone to look at starting their own business. And I think, when you're weighing these options, say in comparison to a more expensive franchise, I think the flexibility that's afforded because you still own and have control of your own business, I think that's huge. I think that's why a lot of people start a business. They don't want to have to report to someone and curtail their goal and operations based on the direction of somebody else. So I think you get all of those benefits. But I think the other thing that's, a major advantage is that it is lower cost. You're not paying a percentage of your income for an indefinite period. You just have the ability to take a proven model, to adapt it to your specific situation, to be given all the tools to implement your strategy and your goals and to achieve it. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. As an entrepreneur myself, obviously, that started several businesses, when I look back over what worked really well and what did not work really well, it's the unknowns that are waiting out there to just, grab you by the foot and trip you up. And that's really what I think makes businesses fail. I think there's probably two major things that make businesses fail. Number one is not knowing a system and process that's proven for success, which it takes a while to get there. And then number two is just these pitfalls that every single entrepreneur will face at some point in time or another. And having the startup series as a guide to continually reference back to me, makes all the difference in the world compared to somebody that does not have that resource. And business consultants are really, really, really expensive. It's a good way to, especially when you're in the startup phases, that's a good way to really drain profitability, is having to call somebody and pay them by the hour every time you have a question, rather than just referencing a resource that you've got on your computer.
Definitely. Yeah. You're getting basically a veteran business model that works.
Yeah.
And you're able to use that from the get-go. So, it's like, taking the Microsoft model when you're starting a software company. It's as good a start as you could have.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining me here and going over these business packages. And, for you guys there thinking about this, you can submit on our website or you can give us a call at 844-500-6620 and speak with a business launching consultant. Again, that's 844-500-6620. Thanks so much.